found it, Heartless. Get lost, will ya?
Sora? Is that you?
Oh!
This time I'll protect you.
Hi guys, this video is part of a series called the Kingdom Hearts Encyclopedia. The purpose of this series is to break down the most important and often the most complex ideas that are integral for understanding the story and lore of the Kingdom Hearts series. After discussing the concept of a heart, I thought that the most appropriate subject to talk about next would be the Heartless. I discussed the Heartless a little bit in the previous video, but I only scratched the surface of what these iconic creatures are. While you don't have to watch that video to have context for this video, as I will be reiterating just enough information for you to follow along, I do think it's worth a watch. And I'm not just saying that because I made it. I think I go over a bit of information about the heart that might not be immediately obvious even to longtime fans of the Kingdom Hearts series. But I think that's enough rambling about that video. Today we're talking about the malicious, yellow-eyed creatures that come in many shapes and sizes and plague the various Disney worlds. Let's define the Heartless. The Heartless have been a major part of the series since the very beginning. In fact, we see them as early on as the prologue to the original Kingdom Hearts, and we are given plenty of information about them. The first thing to note about the Heartless are their common physical features. While the Heartless come in many shapes and sizes, the one thing that they all share are their round yellow eyes. This may be the only thing that every single Heartless has, but there are some traits that many different species of Heartless share in common, such as antennae, red-tipped claws, this square swirl mark, and this red and black heart-shaped emblem. Remember this emblem because I'll be coming back to it. For now, I want to focus on qualities that all Heartless share to give you a solid understanding of what makes a Heartless, well, a Heartless. The first of these qualities that I'd like to point out is that the Heartless in general are the embodiment of darkness. As I mentioned earlier, the Heartless show up in the tutorial section of Kingdom Hearts 1. As soon as one of them appears, Sora is told that there will be times that he needs to fight and that he should keep his light strong. From this we can infer that Sora, and by extension we the players, are the light. And if that's the case, then the Heartless are the darkness. Next, I'd like to note that in great quantities, the Heartless can consume whole worlds. We see this at the end of the game's first level. Sora's homeworld, the Destiny Islands, is invaded by the Heartless and crumbles away. This establishes very early on the threat that the Heartless pose to the rest of the universe. But where do they come from? Heartless are born when a person's heart is consumed by darkness. With only a few exceptions, all hearts have darkness inside of them. When the darkness becomes too much for the heart to contain, the darkness personifies into the Heartless. This metamorphosis is more likely to happen as a direct result of an abundance of Heartless in a world, which is another reason why they're such a big threat. And that brings us to our next piece of information about these creatures, which is that the Heartless are attracted to the darkness in people's hearts. The funny thing about the Heartless is that they work a lot like viruses in real life. A single virus is not a substantial threat, but once they infect a cell and multiply, they spread throughout the system like a wildfire. The Heartless behave very similarly. In fact, it's worth noting that Ansem Report number 4 mentions how the Heartless multiply after absorbing something from the living creatures. The report goes on to say that they thrive on hearts seized from others. The hearts taken by the Heartless become Heartless themselves. So basically, they infect the darkness inside hearts to produce more Heartless and spread throughout the world. They don't stop there though. Like I said earlier, the Heartless can consume whole worlds, and this is because, like people, worlds also have hearts. On the subject of the Heartless being attracted to hearts, they are especially attracted to the hearts of Keyblade wielders. During our first visit to Traverse Town, Squall explains that the Heartless will continue to come after Sora because they fear the Keyblade, the only weapon capable of slaying them. This is a great in-universe explanation for why Sora encounters so many Heartless on his travels. While the Heartless do terrorize innocents, Sora is more likely to run into them because they seek to consume the heart of a Keyblade wielder. I'd like to point out, a trick that Squall and Yuffie pull off to conceal Sora's heart is that they separate him from his Keyblade, and they don't even have to put it in another room. The Kingdom Key is like 6 feet away from Sora, and that was enough to hide Sora's heart, even for just a little while. Squall does mention that this trick will not work for long, and sure enough, we see that it doesn't. Okay, so now that I've discussed everything we know about the Heartless in general, let's differentiate each type. There are 4 main categories: the Pureblood Heartless, the Emblem Heartless, the Gummy Heartless, and Unique Heartless. Let's talk about the Purebloods first. These are the Heartless that are natural born. They are created when a person's heart is consumed by darkness, and they appear more commonly in the realm of darkness and worlds that are located close to it, such as the end of the world and the world that never was. Pureblood Heartless typically have black, blue, or purple skin and often have vein-like structures running along their bodies. Particularly powerful purebloods are often humanoid with heart-shaped holes in their chests. Some examples of these include the Dark Side, the Guardian, and the Dark Inferno. In terms of behavior, these are primitive creatures that act solely on their instinct to consume more hearts. The last thing that I like to point out about Pureblood Heartless is that when they are vanquished, they disappear with a puff of darkness. Emblem Heartless, on the other hand, release a heart when they are slain. Unlike the Purebloods, Emblem Heartless are not naturally born. You remember how I told you to keep this symbol in mind for later? Well, it's later now. All Emblem Heartless are emblazoned with this symbol, which is why they are referred to by that classification. These are synthetic Heartless that were created in Ansem's lab by using Pureblood Heartless as synthesis material for human experimentation. The result was a diverse type of Heartless that are usually more powerful than their Pureblood counterparts. Like the Purebloods, Emblem Heartless follow their instinct to consume hearts. And after their initial creation, these Heartless were produced in mass by a machine in Ansem's castle. Next are the Gummy Heartless. This is a subcategory of Heartless that simultaneously belongs to both the Purebloods and the Emblem Heartless. The only real distinction between Gummy Heartless and the others is that these enemies can only be found in the ocean between worlds. Because of this, most of the Gummy Heartless are machine-like and resemble spaceships. One thing that you might not realize initially is that these Heartless are huge. Sora has fought some giant Heartless such as the Ground Shaker, the King of Toys, and the Raging Vulture. But the Gummy Ship is comparable in size to at least those last 2 Heartless that I mentioned. And Octo Ship is much larger than the Gummy Ship. Imagine having to fight against something like that in a world, let alone the likes of the Astral Warrior, the Space Swarm, or the Glacial Fortress. And finally we have the Unique Heartless. This classification goes to those that are one of a kind. While the Dark Sides might be rare, we have seen multiple of their kind. Some examples of Unique Heartless would be Dr. Finkelstein's Experiment, the Ghost of Scar, and the most significant Heartless of them all, Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness. While most Heartless rely solely on instinct to get by, Heartless like Ansem and Scar are sentient and can even speak. As an entire class of enemies, the Heartless have a lot to them. While the series has gotten more enemy types such as the Nobodies, the Unversed, and the Dream Eaters, the Heartless remain a staple to the Kingdom Hearts series and will no doubt continue to appear in the future. With that, this video has reached its end. We went over quite a bit of information, but that's not even every detail about the Heartless that we learn of through the games. Some I decided to save for other encyclopedia videos because I felt that they would be more relevant to other topics, so be sure to stay on the lookout for them. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and share it with a friend. Also, let me know in the comments if you thought it was helpful, and if you'd like to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications. With that being said, that'll do it for this video. Until next time, guys.